The sirens were a constant dirge, a soundtrack to our impending extinction. I remember thinking, not for the first time, that they needed to upgrade the sound system, maybe something less obvious. Something that wouldn't quite scream, "Your planet is about to be devoured," to every corner of the mountain. My name is Jarek, and in the grand scheme of things, I'm just a glorified data pusher. A strategist they kept tucked away in this reinforced bunker, a location I am not at liberty to specify, because apparently I was good at seeing patterns others missed. What good that was now, I couldn't say. The patterns all pointed to the same conclusion: we were screwed. The holographic display in front of me flickered, each crimson icon representing a krill warship chewing through what was left of our orbital defenses. They came in waves, an insectoid tide of bioengineered monstrosities hungry for resources, for planets, for us. My gaze drifted from the display to the viewport, a reinforced pane of synthetic glass offering a panoramic view of the world we were desperately trying to save. Or at least, a small chunk of it. The sky above was a canvas of streaks, the contrails of interceptors, the blooming fireballs of exploding ships, the telltale green of krill energy weapons scorching the atmosphere. Beautiful in a horrific sort of way, like watching a masterpiece painted with death. "Report, Alida," I said, my voice rough from too much recycled air and too little sleep. "Zulu quadrant's gone, Jarek," she replied, her voice clipped. Alida, my second in command, my conscience. She knew the odds as well as I did, but she never let it show. That was her strength. "The krill are advancing on the western settlements. Civilian evacuation isn't chaotic." Chaotic was putting it mildly. We were losing sectors faster than we could process the casualty reports. For generations, we'd clung to the belief that our technological superiority would save us. We had energy weapons they couldn't match, stealth technology they couldn't detect, strategic doctrines they couldn't comprehend. But the krill didn't care about comprehension, they cared about consumption. Their ships were living weapons, capable of adapting to any defense, of devouring any resource. They were a plague, and Earth was their next host. My comm panel flashed a priority code, a direct line to someone even higher up the food chain than me. The Director General herself. I sighed, rubbing my temples. "Connect the call." The Director General's face filled the screen. She looked even more exhausted than I felt, her eyes red-rimmed, her expression grim. "Jarek," she said, her voice tight, "the Council, they've authorized it. I know you had reservations, but we're out of options. Deploy the Ares Initiative." The Ares Initiative, a project shrouded in secrecy, something that was whispered about in hushed tones in dimly lit corridors, filed away under code names and layers of bureaucracy. I knew the theory. I had pored over the data, the simulations, the ethical assessments. But the reality? Genetically enhanced soldiers, humanity's last desperate gamble. A team of individuals pushed beyond the limits of human potential, designed to be living weapons. Super soldiers. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. The weight of the decision, of the millions of lives hanging in the balance, settled on my shoulders like a lead shroud. "Understood, Director General," I said, my voice strangely detached. "Initiating Ares deployment sequence." A silent prayer, a plea to whatever gods might be listening, escaped my lips. I was about to unleash something we barely understood, something that could save us or damn us all. The krill were at the doorstep. They were at the gates, and doubt was a slow poison. But there was another fear, a fear that had started to gnaw at my resolve. What exactly were we unleashing? And would we recognize ourselves when the dust finally settled? Doubt was a luxury we could no longer afford. The command center hummed with activity, a symphony of tense murmurs and the rhythmic clicking of keyboards. I watched Alida's fingers dance across her console as she routed power to the Ares deployment systems, her brow furrowed in concentration. She moved with a purpose that belied the chaos raging outside our mountain sanctuary. Beside her, Lyrian stood like a statue, their gaze fixed on the holographic display. The Xylos were a species of few words, their emotions carefully guarded, but I could sense their disapproval simmering beneath the surface. "Activation sequence complete, Jarek," Alita announced, her voice cutting through the noise. "Ares team is prepped for launch, trajectory set." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to focus on the task at hand. There was no turning back now. I hit the activation key, and the command center vibrated as the Ares launch systems engaged. On the screen, a series of tunnels snaked through the mountain, leading to launch bays hidden deep within the earth. One by one, the Ares warriors emerged from their cryogenic chambers, their enhanced bodies gleaming under the harsh lights. First was Kai. He was a mountain of a man even before the genetic enhancements. Now he was something else entirely. His muscles bulged, his eyes glowed with an unnatural energy, and his very presence seemed to warp the air around him. Telekinesis was his gift, his weapon, his curse. He could move mountains with his mind, and I was about to ask him to do just that. Then there was Sira. She was the opposite of Kai, lean, agile, and deadly. Her enhanced strength and reflexes made her a whirlwind in combat, a phantom capable of tearing through the Krill ranks with terrifying ease. She was deployed to the western settlements, where the fighting was thickest, where hope was fading fastest. And finally there was Rune, the enigma, the wild card. Rune was a specialist in bio-augmentation, capable of healing wounds and enhancing abilities with a touch. Their skills were invaluable, but their methods were unorthodox. "Lyrian," I said, turning to the Xylos commander, "I need your support. I'm deploying the Ares team to key strategic locations, but they can't do it alone. Your forces need to coordinate with them, provide cover, and exploit their strengths." Lyrian turned to me, their expression unreadable. "Commander Jarek, I still have reservations about this initiative. Tampering with genetics, creating what are essentially living weapons. It goes against everything the Xylos stand for." "I understand your concerns," I said, my voice weary. "But the Krill don't care about our principles. They only care about destroying us. We have to fight fire with fire." "And what happens when the fire consumes us all?" Lyrian countered, their gaze piercing. "What happens when these enhanced warriors turn against us? What happens when we unleash something we can't control?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I shared their fears. I knew the risks. I knew the potential consequences. But I also knew that we were out of time. We had to act, even if it meant gambling with our very souls. "We'll deal with that when it comes," I said, my voice firm. "Right now we have a war to win. Can I count on your support, Lyrian?" Lyrian hesitated for a moment, their gaze shifting from me to the holographic display, to the crimson icons representing the Krill swarm consuming our world. Then, with a sigh, they nodded. "The Xylos will stand with you, Commander Jarek," they said, their voice resonant and unwavering. "But know this, if the Ares initiative becomes a greater threat than the Krill, I will not hesitate to act." "Understood," I said. It was a promise and a threat. But right now I needed Lyrian's support, their firepower, their tactical expertise. I needed every ally I could get. "Alita, initiate Ares deployment," I said, turning back to my console. "Set Kai's trajectory for the orbital station. Deploy Sira to the western front, and send Rune where they're needed most." The command center shook as the Ares warriors launched into the sky, streaks of light against the backdrop of a dying world. I watched them go, a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. I had unleashed our ultimate warriors, our last hope. But what if they weren't saviors? What if they were something far more terrifying? What if, in our desperation to defeat the Krill, we had created a monster of our own? What if the victory that we longed for would ultimately destroy us? It was a thought that would stay with me in my mind for a long time. It was a war for our survival, and humanity's most powerful but dangerous weapon was all we had left. I could only trust, only hope, and only wait, because the next move was theirs. Hope flickered where despair had reigned. The first reports trickled in, snippets of information that painted a picture of cautious optimism. Kai, bless his soul, had turned that orbital station into a fortress, a bristling porcupine in the void. Sira, a force of nature, was carving a path through the Krill ranks in the west, civilians flocking to her banner like moths to a flickering flame. But it was Rune's report that truly caught my attention, a coded transmission filled with cryptic symbols and unusual audio signatures. It was almost like a song, a haunting melody woven into the static. "What's this, Alita?" I asked, turning to my second in command. "Rune's transmission, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Alita frowned, her fingers flying across her console. "It appears Rune has arrived at the designated location, a small research facility nestled deep in the heart of what used to be a vast forest. They're reporting anomalous biological activity." "Anomalous how?" I pressed, a knot of unease tightening in my gut. "They're saying the Krill they're changing, evolving, becoming something different." Alita paused, her eyes flickering across the data streams. "Rune is attempting to understand the Krill biosignatures, but the readings are chaotic, unpredictable. They believe the Krill at that specific facility are adapting to something specific." "Adapting to what?" I asked, my mind racing. "That's the problem, Jarek," Alita said, her voice strained. "Rune isn't sure, but whatever it is, it's accelerating their evolution at an exponential rate." The Krill evolving. The very thought sent a chill down my spine. They were already a terrifying enemy, capable of adapting to any defense, of devouring any resource. What would they become if their evolution spiraled out of control? "Patch me through to Rune," I ordered, my voice firm. "I need to know what's going on down there." A moment later, Rune's face appeared on the screen, their features obscured by the shadows of the facility. Rune's appearance was always unsettling. Their body was a canvas of scars, a testament to countless bio-augmentations, their eyes glowing with the same unnatural energy I'd seen in Kai. "Jarek," Rune said, their voice a low, melodic hum. "I've arrived at the facility. What they were studying here is remarkable." "Remarkable how?" I pressed, my patience wearing thin. "They were studying human adaptation," Rune said, their eyes gleaming. "Specifically, the human capacity to adapt to extreme environments, to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds." "What does that have to do with the Krill?" I asked, confused. "Everything, Jarek," Rune replied, a strange smile spreading across their lips. "The Krill aren't just consuming resources, they're consuming information. They're assimilating our knowledge, our strategies, our very essence. And here, at this facility, they found the key to unlocking their full potential." "You're saying they're learning how to be human?" Lyrian cut in, their voice laced with disbelief. "Not human per se," Rune corrected, "but they're learning to adapt, to evolve, to think in ways we never anticipated. They're unlocking the secrets of our resilience, our ingenuity, our capacity for survival. And they're using it against us." Horror crashed over me. The Krill learning to adapt, to think like us. It was a nightmare scenario, a twisted reflection of our own strengths turned against us. "What can we do?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I'm working on a countermeasure," Rune said, their fingers flying across a holographic console. "I believe I can create a bioagent that will disrupt their assimilation process, force them to revert to their primitive state." "How long will it take?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "Not long enough," Rune said, their gaze hardening. "The Krill are already adapting to my presence. They know what I'm trying to do. I'm also detecting that General Vorlag is nearby." "Vorlag," Lyrian said, their voice sharp. "That's impossible. He's supposed to be leading the main assault on the Eastern Front." "He's here and he's sending everything this facility to stop me," Rune said. "There isn't much time and I need you to buy it for me, requesting immediate evac and support." My mind raced, analyzing the data, calculating the odds. It was a suicide mission. But if Rune failed, if the krill continued to evolve, then all was lost. Lyrian, I need you to divert a squadron to Rune's location and tell them to expect heavy resistance, I said. Understood, Lyrian replied, their voice grim. The Xylos will hold the line. Rune, I said, turning back to the screen. I'm sending you reinforcements, but you need to buy them some time. Can you hold out? Rune smiled, a chilling expression that sent shivers down my spine. I'm not sure I can hold them off, Jarek, but I can certainly make them earn it. Humanity would be needing it for its very survival. The transmission ended, leaving me staring at a blank screen, my mind racing, and I knew this was going to be more than just a distraction. The war was changing, and humanity, if it were to survive, had to adapt. I could only hope they had enough time. The krill, I suspected, were not the mindless swarm we thought they were, something a lot more like us. Victory demanded sacrifices, ones etched in blood and regret. The battle for the research facility was a brutal dance of desperation. Lyrian, true to their word, diverted a Xylos squadron, elite fighters renowned for their speed and precision, but even their skill was tested to its limits. Alita patched in updates as fast as she could gather them. Xylos squadron engaging krill forces near the facility perimeter. Heavy resistance. They're reporting Vorlag has deployed enhanced krill units, exhibiting advanced tactical coordination. The krill learning, adapting. It was happening faster than we could react. Every minute counted, and Rune was running out of time. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The holographic display became a chaotic mess of flickering icons, representing the desperate struggle for survival. Each icon a life on the line. I issued commands, rerouting power, shifting defenses, trying to anticipate Vorlag's next move. But I felt like I was playing a game of chess against an opponent who could see 10 moves ahead. Then came the message I dreaded. Jarek, this is Lyrian. We've reached the facility, but the krill defenses are overwhelming. We're taking heavy losses. Their voice was strained, almost a whisper. Rune, they're pinned down. We can't reach them. My heart sank. Rune was trapped, and the Xylos squadron was on the verge of collapse. I had to make a choice, a decision that could determine the fate of Earth. Lyrian, I need you to pull back, I ordered, my voice tight. There's nothing more you can do there, save what's left of your squadron. There was a moment of silence, then Lyrian responded, their voice filled with a mixture of resignation and respect. Understood, Jarek. May the light guide your path. The connection severed, leaving me staring at the display, feeling the weight of their sacrifice pressing down on me. The Xylos had bought Rune some time, but at a terrible cost. I could only hope it was enough. A few tense minutes later, a new transmission crackled through the comms. It was Rune, their voice laced with exhaustion and triumph. Jarek, I've done it, Rune said, their words barely audible above the sounds of explosions and gunfire. I've synthesized the bioagent. It's ready to deploy, but I don't think I can get out of here. What do you mean? I asked, my voice laced with panic. Vorlag is here, Jarek, face to face, and he's different. He's learned. Rune paused, their breath hitching. He knows what I'm trying to do, and he won't let me leave. We're not going to leave you there, just hold on, I said. There isn't time, Jarek, Rune interrupted. Besides, I know what I have to do. I felt a cold wave of dread wash over me as they continued. I'm going to release the agent into the facility's ventilation system. It'll wipe out the enhanced krill in this area, but it'll also, well, it won't be pleasant for me. No, Rune, there must be another way, I protested. They gave a dry chuckle. This is the only way, Jarek. This is what I was made for. Besides, isn't it the human thing to do, to make the best of a bad situation, to sacrifice everything for the greater good? Their words hit me hard, a painful reminder of the ethical compromises we had made, of the lives we had thrown away in our desperate struggle for survival. I had sent Rune there knowing the risks, knowing the potential consequences. And now they were about to pay the ultimate price. Thank you, Rune, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You are a true hero. Don't thank me, Jarek, Rune replied, their voice strangely serene. Just make sure it wasn't all in vain. Make sure humanity survives this. Make sure we learn from our mistakes. Remember, there's a difference between surviving and actually living. The transmission cut out. I stared at the blank screen, tears welling in my eyes. Rune had made their choice. They had sacrificed themselves to save us all. A few seconds later, a massive explosion tore through the research facility. The entire building imploded, sending shockwaves rippling through the surrounding forest. The enhanced krill units in the area were wiped out, reduced to nothing more than dust and ash. But so was Rune. Rune is gone, Alita said, her voice barely audible. Lyrian approached me, their expression etched with a mixture of sorrow and respect. They fought with courage and honor, Commander Jarek. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. I nodded, unable to speak. The cost of victory was becoming unbearable. We were winning the battle, but losing our souls in the process. Report, Alita, I said, forcing myself to focus on the task at hand. What's the status of the krill forces in the western settlements? They're retreating, Jarek, Alita replied, her voice tinged with cautious optimism. The bioagent seems to be working. The krill are reverting to their primitive state. They're disorganized, confused, vulnerable. Rune had done it. They had bought us some time. But at what cost? What kind of victory was it if it was built on the graves of our own heroes? I looked out at the holographic display, at the retreating krill forces, at the recovering sectors, and felt a cold dread settle in my heart. The war was far from over, and I knew that more sacrifices were coming. But I also knew that we had to keep fighting. We had to honor the memory of Kai, of Rune, of all those who had given their lives to defend our world. We had to prove that their sacrifices weren't in vain. We had to show the galaxy that humanity was worth saving. The krill were still out there, still a threat. But now we had a chance to rebuild, to recover, to forge a new future. But what kind of future would it be? What kind of humanity would emerge from this crucible of war? As I pondered those questions, a new transmission came through. It was from the Eastern Front. It was from General Vorlag. And his message sent a shiver running down my spine, telling me this was far, far from over, and there was something a lot more terrible to come. The end wasn't written, but we'd bleed ink to author our own. Vorlag's transmission crackled through the command center, silencing the hum of activity, the subtle background noise that had become a constant companion. His image filled the screen, distorted, corrupted, but undeniably him. Jarek, Vorlag's voice rasped, a guttural sound that sent shivers down my spine. Did you think you had won? Did you believe that the sacrifice of your pet would stop me? His words hit me like a physical blow. You were there, I said, my voice a strained whisper. You saw what Rune did. The facility, it's gone. Vorlag's image flickered, revealing a glimpse of the krill commander's face. It was wrong, twisted, contorted, but also knowing, human, a twisted, corrupted echo of something we had lost. The facility is a small price to pay, Jarek, Vorlag said, his voice taking on a chillingly familiar cadence. Rune's little bioagent, it was merely a setback. I have learned much from your species. I have seen your capacity for resilience, your ingenuity, your sacrifice. A distorted echo of a human smile stretched across Vorlag's features. And I have adapted. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. I am no longer simply Vorlag, the krill commander. I am something more, something better. I am the future. Alita gasped, her fingers flying across her console. Jarek long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy surge on the Eastern Front. The krill fleet, it's changing. They're exhibiting coordinated tactical maneuvers unlike anything we've seen before. Almost as if a single intelligence is controlling every unit. My blood ran cold. Vorlag hadn't just survived, he had ascended. He had integrated the human capacity for strategic thought into the Krill hive mind, creating a force that was both relentless and terrifyingly intelligent. "What do you want, Vorlag?" I asked, my voice tight. "I want what you cannot provide, Jarek," Vorlag said. "Order, purpose. An end to the chaos that consumes your species. You squabble amongst yourselves, waste resources on meaningless pursuits, cling to outdated ideals. I will bring you unity. I will bring you strength. I will bring you perfection." "You're insane," Lyrian spat, their voice filled with contempt. Vorlag's gaze shifted to Lyrian, his expression hardening. "The Xylos, such noble warriors, such wasted potential. You cling to your traditions, your honor, your code. But honor is a weakness, Lyrian. It blinds you to the truth. The only way to survive is to adapt, to evolve, to become something more." His gaze returned to me, his eyes burning with an unnerving intensity. "Join me, Jarek," Vorlag said, his voice almost pleading. "Help me build a new world, a world free from chaos and conflict, a world where all are united under a single purpose." For a moment I hesitated, and it was a mistake to do so. The weight of the war, the sacrifices we had made, the constant struggle for survival, it was all so overwhelming. Vorlag offered a path out of the darkness, a vision of order and unity, a tempting thought. But then I thought of Kai and his booming laughter, his unwavering loyalty, his telekinetic surge pushing back the incoming enemy forces. I thought of Sira, a whirlwind of motion, a human storm that blazed her own trail across the war and inspired everyone around her. I thought of Rune, their unsettling smile as they stepped into the heart of the inferno, making one last stand against the enemies, sacrificing everything to protect what they believed in. Those thoughts, all these heroes, were the only family that I've ever had, and I'd be damned if I betray them to anything. I thought of Earth and its endless chaos, its beauty, its potential, its people all clamoring to tell their story and reach for the stars. "Earth isn't perfect," I said, my voice firm, "but it's ours, and we'll bleed to defend it." Vorlag's face twisted in fury. "Then you have chosen your path, Jarek. Prepare to face the consequences of your defiance. The Krill will consume your world, and you will witness the dawn of a new order, an order I will bring to the world." The transmission ended. Silence descended upon the command center, broken only by the frantic activity of my crew. I knew what I had to do. It was time for a final, desperate gamble. "Alida, prepare a plan for a direct confrontation with Vorlag," I said, my voice resolute. "We're going to take the fight to him. We're going to end this war once and for all." "Jarek, that's suicide," Alida protested. "His fleet, it's too strong. We can't possibly win." "I know the odds," I replied. "But we have something Vorlag doesn't have. We have heart, we have courage, we have humanity." I turned to Lyrian, their expression grim. "I need your help, Lyrian," I said. "I need the Xylos fleet. I need everything you can muster." Lyrian met my gaze, their eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and respect. "The Xylos will stand with you, Jarek," they said, their voice unwavering, "to the end." With a surge of determination, I began to lay out the plan, a desperate gamble that would either save Earth or condemn it to oblivion. There wasn't any alternative, so it was time. With humanity and its allies in the battle and a new plan to execute, the beginning of the end had begun. The final battle took place on the edge of Earth's orbit, the planet itself looming like a silent witness to our fate. I was aboard the Valiant, a prototype warship, the last card we had left to play. Lyrian commanded the Xylos fleet alongside us, their ships weaving through the Krill swarm with deadly precision. The Krill fleet, now under Vorlag's control, fought with a chilling intelligence. They anticipated our every move, adapting their tactics on the fly. It was a brutal, chaotic dance of death, a swirling vortex of energy pulses, missile trails, and exploding ships. "Report," I barked, my hands flying across the console. "Shields at 50% and failing," Alida shouted, her voice strained. We're taking heavy damage. The Krill, they're focusing their fire on us. I knew why. Vorlag wanted me. He wanted to break me, to force me to submit to his twisted vision of order. But I would never give him the satisfaction. Divert all power to the forward shields, I ordered. Prepare for ramming speed. Jarek, what are you doing? Lyrian's voice crackled over the comms. You can't take on Vorlag's command ship head-on, it's suicide. I know, I replied, my voice calm. But it's our only chance. We have to take out Vorlag, we have to break their connection. Jarek, are you sure about this? Alita asked, her voice trembling. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said, a grim smile spreading across my face. It's time to show him what humanity is all about. I engaged the Valiant's engines, and the ship lurched forward, accelerating towards Vorlag's command ship, a bioengineered monstrosity that dwarfed everything around it. The Krill fleet turned to intercept us, but the Xylos ships held them at bay, creating a narrow corridor for our suicidal charge. The Valiant slammed into Vorlag's command ship, a cataclysmic collision that sent shockwaves rippling through space. The two vessels locked together, and a boarding party led by me launched towards Vorlag's location. I fought my way through the Krill ranks, my body fueled by adrenaline and a burning desire for revenge. I saw Krill before and Krill after I sent them on a path to hell as I continued. They were stronger, faster, more intelligent, but they lacked something that I had. Something that Vorlag would never understand. I found Vorlag in the heart of his ship, surrounded by a swarm of Krill drones. He was even more horrifying in person than he had been on the screen, his body twisted and contorted, his face a grotesque mockery of humanity. You cannot stop me, Jarek, Vorlag hissed, his voice a chilling blend of human and Krill. I am the future, you are the past. The future is never written, Vorlag, I said, my voice low, leveling my plasma rifle at him. It's something we make for ourselves. The battle for Earth, for humanity, for our very souls, came down to this. It was a final showdown of wills between the human desire for survival and the dark, twisted logic of the enemy that wanted to use our strengths against us. I fired. The plasma rifle roared to life, and energy bolts tore through the chamber, striking Vorlag and his Krill guards. They fell, their bodies convulsing as the energy coursed through their systems. Vorlag, however, remained standing, his eyes burning with a furious intensity. You may have won this battle, Jarek, Vorlag said, his voice raspy and broken. But you have not won the war. The Krill will return. They will always return, because order must prevail. He staggered, collapsing to his knees. But even as he died, I saw something in his eyes, something that chilled me to the bone, a dark, twisted satisfaction. You haven't won, Jarek, Vorlag managed to croak out, a dark, distorted knowing that he was right. You have merely delayed the inevitable, and with those final words he died, going slack. As Vorlag's body hit the floor, a wave of energy pulsed through the command ship, severing the Krill's hive-mind connection. The remaining Krill forces, now disorganized and leaderless, began to retreat, scattering into the void. Earth was saved, for now. I stood there amidst the wreckage of Vorlag's command ship, surrounded by the bodies of the fallen, a hollow victory echoing in my heart. We had stared into the abyss and pulled ourselves back. But at what cost? What had we become in the process? As I limped back to the Valiant, as I looked out at the recovering planet, I knew what I had to do. The war may be over, but there was still a long way to go. A long way before we could fully recover from the horrors we had endured, the choices we had made, the sacrifices we had been forced to endure. And as I felt these feeling, the horrors of my war-torn past returned. We had to build a new world, a world where humanity could thrive without sacrificing its soul. A world where peace was more than just a distant dream. The galaxy was in shock, but mostly they would be ready for us. I would make sure of it. I took a deep breath, and it was then that I said to myself the words that would define what was to come. We had stared into the abyss and found the strength to pull ourselves back. The galaxy would learn to fear the price of our survival, for what we had done so that they could understand the value of life, liberty, and everything in between.